Okay, Shaun, we are now officially live again after the break. So, welcome. I would like to introduce all the viewers to Shaun. And after finishing his PhD in paleoclimatology, which is the study of past climates, I've looked this up actually. You decided to leave the academic world to commit yourself to making a more tangible contribution to a sustainable world. So you're not alone in this on the stage, of course. But I think the way you are doing this is pretty unique through CityBarge. You aim to provide a sustainable alternative to air-polluting trucks and vans. And I was hoping that you could explain yourself how exactly you plan to do this and how this works, because it's quite something the way you approach this.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about CityBarge is that you'll see it in an animation soon, but that we looked to the past and saw how how a lot of transport was done over water. We thought let's bring that to this century, and in this way make the cities a better place.
Right. Should I show them the video real quick?
Yeah, let's start with the animation.
Okay, I'll put the animation on.
Nearly every important city is built along a riverside. This is no coincidence. Water was once the primary means of transportation. However, in today's cities, the roads are clogged with air-polluting trucks and vans. They complete necessary tasks, such as collecting garbage, supplying building sites, and delivering packages. CityBarge connects these three cargo flows, shifting traffic from the road onto the water, improving the quality of city life while making streets safer. Electric autonomous navigating push barges, powered by rechargeable batteries and equipped with 5G, enable endless opportunities. Sensors tell a smart planning tool when cargo is ready to be moved for just-in-time arrival and efficient energy use. CityBarge works closely with relevant stakeholders, ensuring a strong, innovative and inclusive solution to city logistics. CityBarge moves the future by reliving history. Coming to your city, starting this summer. CityBarge moves the future.
The future of CityBarge. So for this talk, I have a rather unconventional approach. We started with the future of CityBarge. Now I'm going to move to where we are now, and then I'm going to go back to the past and tell you about how did we actually get here. So at the moment, how CityBarge positions itself is that it's an independent logistics service provider that focuses on reusing the existing water infrastructures. And so by using the water structures with a clean form of transport, we increase the quality of life within cities, because you don't have the polluting trucks and vans that are destroying the historic bridges, are just generally in the way, causing congestion. And by removing them, we remove the quality of life. But we also do this in a cost-efficient service. By combining various cargo flows. So, for example, you have a continuous flow of waste leaving the city, and then you can have construction materials or packages going into the city. And by combining these various flows, we remove all the trucks and actually do this in a way that it's affordable for the consumer and for the cities that it's in. And we think this combination is really important. That if you have a good plan, it helps if it's also cost efficient. And in this image here that you see here, you basically see the concept as it is. So the black, again, this is a conceptual image, but in the black you see our push barge, the push boat that is actually developed for the canals. So it's a lot smaller than your general push boat, and it's really built so that it can navigate the really narrow and shallow canals of city centers. In front of it, you see a push barge. So it's basically just an empty container. Now in the image, it's open, but actually it'll be closed. And you can put different types of materials in there. So you can put pellets in there. You can just put boxes in there, basically anything you want. And what you do is you take from out of the city, you sail your boat with your barge into the city, there are floating platforms. We call them floating mini hubs. That's the object you see on the left there. You push the barge underneath, and what happens then is that consumers can walk onto our mini hub and deposit their waste. So you can put your plastic in one, your paper in the other, and your rest waste in another one. Because in this way, in a lot of inner cities, at least in the Netherlands, it's not possible to separate your waste and recycle it. Everything's still put together in one and burnt, which is a huge source of CO2. So by being able to recycle it, this is already one of the ways that this could improve the livability, not just of locally, but actually nationally and internationally. So that's basically the concept as it is. So where are we now? At the top, you see the picture about a month ago, where the underwater ship from our boat was revealed. And the reason why the representatives from the municipality and the province wanted to come and look at this underwater ship is that it's a really innovative product, because it's built from recyclable plastic through these new production methods. And in this way, we can actually produce these push barges for about a third of the cost and a third of the time that it usually takes to produce them. And the other cool part about it is that these ships, designed by our partner Akse, which is an international tugboat company, that they're built in a modular fashion. So at the bottom there, you saw that we put it in the water 1 or 2 weeks ago, and well, the good thing is that it floats. That's an important aspect. But what you see there is that we've already put on the frame, and so the next point will be that we put on the engines and the steering console. And then if something breaks, you can actually just replace it, and you don't have to rebuild your whole ship. And then on the right side, you see basically the technical design of the mini hub, which has also gone into production. This will hopefully be the technical aspect. The skeleton frame will be done by within 1 or 2 months, and then together with the municipality and the citizens of the city, we want to start developing the aesthetic part of the system. So the technological part is done. Now we need to make certain that it actually, it fits in every city center. But we've already gotten a lot of appreciation for the concept. So we've got some hints that we're on the right track. For example, we won the mobility prize by the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. But the interesting thing is that one of the questions you usually get back is, how did you guys think of this? Did you just walk along the canal and thought, this could be different? And generally, what I tell them is what I said at the start of this talk as well, is that you look towards the past, you see how they used to do it with something called a pull barge, actually, where you had a boat on your canal, and you had a horse walking on the side of the canal, with pulling it forwards. We looked into the past and thought, let's bring that to the 21st century. And this is true, but of course there's a lot more history behind it. And that's what I want to talk to you in the remaining part of this talk. So to tell you the story, I need to tell you about Finley. Finley is basically a company behind CityBarge. And what it does is it looks at really complex problems, like for example the energy transitions, and looks at develops small innovative startups that try to change the system. So we're building tomorrow's companies, and it's not just a cool tagline. It's actually based on some really interesting theory. People who are known with transition theory might already know this picture. But what you see here is on the left is the status quo, is the system as it is. But when the system comes under pressure, for example, due to a pandemic or climate change, there are these gaps that start developing in the system. And the idea is that the only way to fill these gaps in an efficient manner is by developing these niche innovations. And when you put those niche innovations into the system, you start creating a new regime that starts working again. And what Finley does is really focus on those niche innovations. And how we do this is actually is not just, think of an idea and go for it. There's actually a process behind this. What we do is we start these multidisciplinary teams called Delta Innovation Teams that combine the energy and the creativity of a lot of young people, like students and young professionals, and we match that with the experience of experts in a really broad network. Because the main idea behind this is that you cannot just solve these problems on your own. They're something like the energy transition. There's not one solution. We really need to do this together. So when we combine, the energy and the experience, you couple that with some design thinking principles, and you get started with your innovation process. And this process, we've divided that into 3 phases called prepare, design, and prototype, which I'll talk a bit more about later. But something, those Delta Innovation Teams are, like I said, they're full of young people. And what these teams need to realize is that they're part of an ecosystem. So for example, in this image, at the top there, you see CityBarge and the team working on the CityBarge, but they need to work together with the province. They need to work together with different companies. There are other ventures that we're building that are going to be linked to each other. Everything is basically connected. You're part of a whole chain, of a whole ecosystem. And that's something that that's something that's a really important aspect of our development with the Delta Innovation Teams. And one of the important aspects is also the academic institutions, matching academia with change and transition. And to professionalize that, we've started the Finley Educational Program to give students an opportunity to actually work on these small ventures, these small innovative ideas that and actually, or hopefully, potentially have an impact. And we don't just want the students to come in, do their project, and leave again. We actually want to help them develop so that they can actually make impact even after they leave Finley. So for that, we started the Design and Strategy Academy that is really focused on the personal development of those Delta Innovation Teams. We teach them, the ways of design thinking. We help them creative facilitation, how to do, sufficient research, something I really like as an academic. But also, fun sessions about, training your memory. There's a lot of different directions that we want to take the students in. And the students have a lot of different options because we have different ventures that they could do projects in. And our ventures, we've really divided them into 2 themes. Now, the first one, logistical optimization. I know it doesn't sound too sexy, but it is a really important aspect for our transition towards a sustainable future. There's so much to gain in the field of logistics. It's really ridiculous. And we have several different ventures that are in this field. So for example, CityBarge, which of course I've talked about a little bit already, which focuses on the last mile inner city logistics. And another one that really came out of this process was the metropolitan hub system. A lot of companies and government organizations talk about we need to use hubs to reduce the amount of trucks, which is true, but this has been known for a while now, but still there's so many empty trucks driving in and out of cities and between regions. There's a lot to gain there. And that's one of the projects that students have worked on. Our other theme is circularity and sustainability. And for example, we have HONK, which is a circular building system. So this is actually one of our prototypes for this venture. And in the Netherlands alone, I think there's about 30 million square meters of halls, just like the one in this image here, that are completely empty and aren't being used. And so what we do with HONK is we provide a pay-per-use service that offers circular and modular workspaces. So within your empty space, if your company is growing, you can buy or rent more units. And this is another way of trying to really change the status quo. But back to CityBarge. So I thought it'd be nice to show the process of how we got from CityBarge that we started 2 years ago until our venture now. So it started about 2 years ago at a breakfast session with the province of South Holland. They came to us with the question, how can we start using the waterways again? This is a very, very broad question. And with at the start we had all these creative sessions, and we had all types of directions. But eventually we started narrowing it down until we started a design project called Trackside 2.0. So that's the pool barge 2.0. So really bring it to this century. And in this design project, we identified 3 different designs. And I want to point out here that what you can see is that we already at this point, we started collaborating with a lot of different partners, because again, you can't do this on your own. We need to think together, like, what are the actual issues? What are the possible solutions? What have you already done? What have you already done? And we try to put that together, bring that together in this design project. And at the end of this project, the team decided that the waste case was one of the cases with the most potential. So through a grant with the EU, the Horizon 2020 grant, we performed a feasibility study. So really looking at, what is the current waste situation in the Netherlands? What are the business opportunities? So trying to get a clearer picture. So, the wiggle becomes less and less wiggly. We're starting to focus until in January this year, we started with the prototyping phase. And again, we gathered a big group of experts around us. And then in bi-weekly sprints, we started the design process of really designing the technical design and the whole concept. And this project is about to finish, because as I showed you before, we're actually building the prototypes now. So once they're built, this section ends, and we move into an actual venture. And the team that worked on the prototyping phase is a really cool experience of young and a cool mix of young and experienced. And again, surrounding that, we have all these experts. So for example, as our partner Koter, the international tugboat company, we also have Dell, Nokia, and Intertractor helping us with their information platform. And in this way, combining that with the creativity of this young team, of the young members of the team, we made incredible progress in the last 6 months. So the next step is, how do we move further? How does the venture, take off? The actual prototyping and the building will finish in the summer, and then in the fall we'll start with the first pilots in Delft, Utrecht, and Leiden, and then we'll try the different business cases that we talked about. So you can look at waste, construction materials, and packages. And our aim is to really make an impact, is to be operational in 25 cities in 2025. And at the last slide, I just want to summarize the core values that we at Finley and CityBarge use, that we think will help startups become successful. So first is to match ideals to business. Now, I'm not saying this is always the case. I really hope that there are some really cool projects that aren't really, that don't have really good business cases, but still work because they're helping the world so much. But generally, it does help your concept if you can actually present a solid business case, and people want to use it can use it without extra additional costs. So I think that's one that we find a very important value. The other is that point that I made before, is you cannot do it on your own. We want to work with experts. Everyone already has these little niche innovations. Let's try and bring them together to actually change the system and cause that transition towards a more sustainable future. And don't just look at one city, try to make it regional. That's, for example, why we work with the province and also other provinces, because we really want to use a regional approach. And our final piece is that combine creativity with experience. You can have a lot of creative designers have a brilliant concept, but don't know how to bring it to a market or to how to work with a local municipality. And you have experienced members who might not have the innovative capabilities anymore to think outside the existing system. So why not just bring them together and together build these really cool new ventures? And I think that's the story of CityBarge.
Wow, thank you, Shaun. That's a lot has happened since you started this project, I guess.
Yeah,
and actually, I'm surprised to see how far along the project already is. Because when I was watching the animation, I was like, oh, of course, this is super cool, but it's just an idea. But you're getting very close to actually, having this, right?
Yeah. So it's actually the boat's already floating.
Right.
We'll actually be sailing later this summer. And to think that in January we didn't really have anything yet, so it went really rapidly.
That's amazing. So congrats on that one. One thing I really liked, and that's something that I also saw in other talks in the Green Deal or on Joy of Life about creativity, is that the best things apparently start to happen when you put multiple disciplines together. And I guess that's also something you encounter in your Delta innovation teams, when you get these young, energetic teams from different disciplines, then something really magical starts to happen. So that's something that I really liked seeing as well. And I really appreciate you sharing that process and how it went for you. One question I had is, because it is a success story, obviously, right? So you got funding and it actually almost exists. But what was the hardest step in this process for you? Was it, getting funding? Was it getting the connections, winning people over? Because that's really something people can learn from, I guess.
Yeah, to be honest, I think the hardest steps are still coming. We've already encountered a lot of bumps, but that's the cool thing about working with also the experience, with a lot of experience, is that they can help you get the funding that's necessary, because that's something you hear from a lot of startups. I have this great idea, but I don't know how to sell it. I don't know how to get the government funding. And we have these experienced people that know how to do this, and that enables these really cool niche innovations. I think for CityBarge, something that's is going to be a tough process tough but also really fun process, is going with the inhabitants of the city and showing them why this is an addition to their city. And we've already organized some events around this. But Corona has made it a bit more difficult to be in contact with the inhabitants. But the NPulse prize that we won that because together with NPulse, we are going to really focus on how do we co-create the aesthetics, design, and the process together with the inhabitants. Right. We're not just going to throw it in there and say good luck with it. We're going to go with them, think about the process. Is it really working? How does it look? Together, we're going to build this company, so that everyone wants the cities to become greener, more sustainable, and we think we have one of the solutions. But to get only if people agree with this, only together we can solve these issues.
Would the project fail if you don't get the citizens on board, you think? If you just force it, theoretically, if you just say, here it is, you have to use this now, do you think that works, that approach? Because you really seem to stress on this, that you really need to get everyone involved. So I'm wondering why.
Well, I think if people don't want to use it, I'm not sure if they will.
Right.
But the thing about CityBarge is that you have these different elements to the idea. I mean, you can always still have your push boat and your barge in front of it, and the platform. So you can start looking at different logistical streams. So for CityBarge itself, it'll still be a success either way. But we really want to get rid of all the vans in the city center. So that's why we really hope that our mini platform idea for being able to separate waste will become a success. And I think there's a top-down approach, but we really feel that the bottom-up approach is going to lead to success in the end.
I agree. Yeah,
again, we need to do it together.
It's also about changing mindsets, right? Getting people actively involved, and this whole process of agreeing with this, and maybe even thinking about it, can really help to become more aware of sustainability in general. So I think it's a great idea. I'm really curious to see how long it will take before I actually see it in real life in my own city, maybe even. So thanks a lot, Shaun. I'm gonna wrap this session up, because let's see. My next session will be in about half an hour with Henry Mentink, who was the founder of My Wheels, one of the first, or actually the first, car sharing companies in the world. And now he's completely changed directions and he's trying to put the entire Earth on the World Heritage List. So I'm really curious to see how he's planning to do this, and you might want to check in as well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later, but for now, thanks a lot, and I hope to keep in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Bye.